if I were to invest in the fund today, or another person listening on this podcast would want to invest in entrepreneurial capital, walk us through how that would look like.
So basically, people make a commitment. They make a capital commitment, which has to be at least $100,000 or more, and they then sign paperwork. We have basically one slide that explains the investor terms, which is like a 200-page document when you spec that out into all the legalese. So you review and sign the subscription agreement. We do KYC checks, like know your customer checks, to make sure that you're not secretly some sort of mafia organization. And then, crucial, which has not happened yet, but got to be safe. And then there are capital calls. And so if someone makes a $100,000 commitment, they're not investing all $100,000 right at the beginning. It's probably like 15% as initial capital call, and then probably 8% a quarter for the next 2 to 3 years. And that's how it rolls. We do updates. We share the deal flow that we're looking at for people's thoughts. We give quarterly updates, and we roll from there. So it's a fairly straightforward process.
Are you able to share what the waterfall looks like? So if an investor is interested in learning how to get the economic return, what that would be?
Yeah. So despite advice to the contrary, we are a small fund. $10 million is very small. Most of the time, if you're a small fund, you're going to do sort of interesting, creative deal terms to make it more attractive to the GP, which is myself. In this case, we did not do that. We were just using plain vanilla, straight up the middle fund terms. So 2% management fee, 20% carry after an 8% hurdle rate on what's called a European waterfall. So if someone invests $100, they have to get all $100 of their money back, plus 8% a year compounded, and then the 20% carry kicks in. And so if you're doing the math, you think like, they have a team, there's no way that they're making money on the management fee. And that is correct. We're not making any money on the management fee, sadly, but we are incentivized for the long term. And yeah, I'm more concerned with winning than with making money in the short term. So here we are.
And Grant, how long are you going to hold this fund for? So, for investors that want to invest in this company today, or in this fund, I should say, is this typical of a 5-year hold?
10-year fund life, and we'd assume a 5 to 7 year average hold for the individual investments that we make. So we have a 3-year investment period. We're trying to basically look at 100 plus deals a year and pick our favorite 5 each year for the next roughly 3 years, maybe 2.5, but roughly 3. And then hold each of those for 5 to 7 years. We believe that in this asset class, having a longer hold period makes a lot more sense. This is not like traditional private equity sort of turn and burn approach. We think there's a lot of value in the long term.
And do you distribute cash to your investors during this fund?
Yes. So the way that the fund or the investor economics work, if we go back to your example of a searcher's buying a business that does $1 million of earnings, and let's just say it's a 4 times multiple to make the math easier.
Sure.
So $4 million. They're probably getting an SBA loan for $3 million of that. And they're probably getting like 10% seller financing. So call it $400,000, which leaves $600,000 left as equity. The searcher is probably putting in $100,000 of their own money, ballpark, and then maybe someone like us is doing $500,000. The way that the terms work is that the searcher takes a salary, but the salary is capped. So the searcher has to make all of their real money through distributions, which is good because that's how we also make our own money. And the way that it works is that all distributions first have to go to paying a 10% a year preferred return on our $500,000 of investor capital, and then returning our $500,000 of investor capital, at which point there's then a split. And it would probably be like roughly 25. In this case, if you have a 2-time step up, which we can talk about if we want, but ignoring that for a second, it would probably end up being the searcher owns 75% of the business and investors own 25%. So basically, we get 10% a year preferred return until our $500,000 is returned, and then 25% of distributions. And all of those cash flows, as they happen, just flow into the fund and then flow out to our investors each quarter as they happen.